morning, everyone.
Morning.
Do I do that? Zoom. Yeah. Yeah.
I figured you needed to see my smile, so you knew I was smiling under here.
I saw it. I could see it in your eyes.
Smile with your eyes, Deanna.
It's a skill we're all developed this year. Devin, your beard looks fantastic. That was enough to get him to turn off the video.
Hey, anybody have any ideas how we could plug this speaker into that? Can you guys just start talking?
Test, 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 test.
Studio.
Was that good, Dina, or do you need more?
I'm gonna need more.
Test, 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 test.
Oh,
Hey, Devin, get the dog over there. That'll see if it works. I think it left.
Perfect. Try it one more time.
Test, test.
Can you guys hear that? Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. We are at 8 a.m., but people are still joining like crazy, so we'll give it a minute until that slows down.
Good morning, PJ.
Good morning. I didn't see where that came from. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. This is Becky DeShazo. I'm not
Hey,
sure.
Becky. How are you?
Good. Quite a different meeting today.
It is. It is, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the way it is. Oops. Just a second. I'm trying to get done.
Give it one more minute. All right, it looks like things are slowing down in terms of people entering. I'm sure people will continue to enter throughout the time that we're together today. So first of all, I want to thank you guys. This is the most unusual of circumstances, something that I don't think that we could have predicted or would have wanted to predict would happen throughout our careers that we're going through. And then the cherry on top of that Sunday was yesterday. I was reviewing the data. We were up 99.8% of the time last year in terms of our internet. And when we needed to have our first, full faculty and staff Zoom meeting was one of the times that we were down. So just an abundance of bad luck. So I appreciate the flexibility. It is somewhat poetic given how this year has gone that it occurred, however. So I think on the long list of things that we'll look back on and laugh in 2 to 3 years, hopefully that's part of it. Hopefully we are looking back and laughing. So typically during convocation, what we do is I toss it over to Mr. Smith, who shares a message from the board. Then we allow each leadership team member to introduce anyone new to their team so that we can hopefully put a name with a face. Now, it's going to be difficult because we have people all over the place in other trainings that we have scheduled this on top of. So there's going to be, I'm going to take a couple of the departments as some of the leadership team members are gone, and I'm sure some of the people getting introduced will not be here as well. But I think it's still important to go through that. And then I'll take the last 15 to 20 minutes to share my thoughts and a message to you guys as we start the year. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce Mr. John Smith. He's our board president. He's served the board for over a decade now and has been an incredible support to me and to the leadership team as we have gone through a really interesting last 6 months. Unprecedented gets tossed around too much. I'm just tired of the word, so I didn't use it. But the last 6 months have been incredibly interesting and complex, and I could have not asked for a better support and boss and mentor than what John has provided me. So John, without further ado, take it away.
Yeah, well, that makes my message so much easier to say. Thank you very much. Good morning, and Dr. Posey, and allowing me for once again to address the outstanding team that is Meridian District 223. And to all of you in your little rectangular boxes, I say welcome back. Every year as I prepare to address this group, I realize how much of a blur every summer can be. This year has not only been a blur in the normal sense of the word because it moved quickly, it was also very fuzzy, very foggy. It was difficult to make solid decisions everywhere I went because everywhere I went, there was no clear path. In a normal year, we do not have a regularly scheduled board meeting, but normal is a word that I have trouble using now. No regular board meeting was replaced with 2 meetings of the whole that allowed us to hear from PJ, the leadership team, and many teachers and other involved individuals. We also reviewed and dissected the results of surveys that were gathered from students, parents, and other staff and community members as to what they would like to see when school reopened. For the board, this has been a long summer of learning. Every day, there's been new data to read, consume, and start to believe, want to believe. only to find that the next day it was only partly correct. But don't worry, it would change again tomorrow. Couple that with the opportunity to listen to daily press briefings from Rockford, Chicago, Springfield, Washington, and soon even news junkies like myself were overwhelmed. The amount of data presented to us was daunting, to say the least. The summary of just the dates that when new or updated guidance was issued is by a myriad of agencies, ISB, IHSA, CDC, Ogle County Health Department, and others. Just that list of dates is over a page and a half long. But that's our job as board members. We had to absorb all the information presented and then act on the well thought out recommendations brought to us. Potential policy changes, staffing considerations, financial obligations, and expenditures all had to be carefully and thoughtfully considered quickly so that all of you have the tools and support you would need to press forward. At the end of all of the phone calls, meetings, presentations, and eventual recommendations, the board that prides itself on being part of a district that historically strived to be the best of the best, we had to vote to accept a plan that has been identified as the best worst plan available. Well, I'll tell you this. Taking that action bent, but it did not break my spirit. To me, spirit, or the lack of it, or enthusiasm, is personal and can be contagious. So I had to work hard to keep my bent spirit to myself. Each year, a portion of my message to you is based on personal experience or observations, and this year I will continue that pattern. So bear with me just a few minutes. I share some of my fuzzy moments from the summer of 2020. March 27th, just 8 days. Just 8 days after Governor Pritzker shut down the state, was supposed to be our daughter Caitlin's wedding. The original postponement was followed by 2 more date changes, each one requiring changes with all of the vendors, bridal party, and family, which created lots of tears and an incredible amount of disappointment. I can tell you this, using the adult beverage inventory that was earmarked, the reception made the learning of the lessons of patience and perseverance a little more tolerable. After graduating college and followed by a 3-month internship with her eventual employer, our youngest daughter, Sarah, started her first adult job in August of 2019, only to be furloughed 7 months later. Being a surgical tech was a job she loved for many reasons, but the fact that she was working in the same operating rooms as her mother gave her an extra sense of pride and personal fulfillment. But poof, the job, her dream job, is gone in a flash. All elective surgeries were canceled. So if elective surgeries are canceled, what about mom? What about working in surgery at all? Elective surgeries were gone, but emergent and trauma cases pay no attention to pandemics. Critical care must continue. I want to share proudly with you that Rosalind just completed her 40th year as a surgical nurse. But I also want to share that throughout our 32 years of marriage, I have never been more concerned about what she does than I have been this year. During the early 2000s, as the AIDS epidemic was rising, that came close, but nothing like now. And then there's me. Did my life change how I do my job? You bet it did. I learned a long time ago from one of my favorite motivational books by Max Lucado that's titled, "It's Not About Me," and that truth helped me stay focused. I share all of that not to make my message today about the board, my family, or me, but to confirm to all of you that everyone here has their own list of fuzzy moments from the summer of 2020 and that they can share regarding the difficulties they have already encountered or what they are facing today. Every person here, every family represented here is frightened, apprehensive, concerned, scared, pick a description. But one thing remains, we are all here and we're all in this together. So my message today, probably while not as short as some of you may have wished for, is relatively simple. Individually, as a board, as a district, we are extremely proud that you are here answering the bell and ready to welcome our students back. Registration has been different. Bus rides will be different. Lunches will be different. Activities, sports, or clubs will be different. Classrooms, either virtual or in person, will certainly be different. But I have no doubt that one thing will remain the same. And that is that the love and the care that all of you personally deliver to our kids, the kids in our district every day, that will remain solid throughout this year. I am proud to be part of this district, but what I do is extremely small part of what happens here daily, monthly, school year by school year. And that would just not be possible without each and every one of you. I'm humbled every year to be in the presence of this group of incredibly dedicated and caring people. Thank you for sharing your time this morning, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. So as you guys can see, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes with the board that I don't think teachers and staff fully grasp in the exact same way that there's a lot that goes on in the classroom within the schools that I don't know that the board fully grasps. And I think that you can just tell by the emotion that was put forth how difficult this process has been in trying to, as Mr. Smith said, and I'll talk about in a little while, find the best possible solution when it feels like you're trying to thread a needle blindfolded in terms of trying to do its best for both kids and staff. So at this point, if any leadership team member would want to unmute themselves and introduce any new staff they have, again, because why not? There is a technical glitch going on if you're not aware. It only admitted the first 100 people, even though we purchased the premium version to avoid this, but I can't go into the settings and adjust things on the fly right now for fear of kicking everyone off. So that's why we're sending the YouTube link out. So if somebody is not in here, that they will get access to the information that's shared. But again, kind of a perfect experience for us in regards. The snarky version of me wants to say that, we hit 100 people at like 8:02. So if they were late, that's the breaks. So we'll see how it goes from there. Any leadership team member want to jump in and introduce their new staff that may or may not be with us? Joe, it looks like your mouth is moving, but we can't hear you, and you're not muted.
Still moving.
There, can you hear me now? Thanks. Sorry, now my mouth is going to move and you're going to hear me, which I know is going to be disappointing for some. But we have 3 new staff members at Highland, and then I'm also going to go over a few changes that we have as well because of some shifting around of staff. So Kelsey Hilliard, who I'm not sure if she's on, she is going to be a paraprofessional for us and an aide. Shelby Green is not technically brand new to us, but Shelby is going to be student teaching in 1st grade with us this year with Mrs. Jepson. And then Heather Harrell is going to be with us, and she's going to work with our child care room to help supervise those children and the kiddos that are coming over to provide them some extra support. This year, we, due to some of the guidelines and restrictions and a lack of funding for it, we eliminated the pre-K program for this school year. So Mrs. Christensen, who was one of our pre-K teachers, is going to be our ESL teacher within the building, and she's going to kind of float to a handful of different classes to support our English as a second language students and English learners. Mrs. McFatridge, who is one of the other pre-K teachers, is going to be a kindergarten teacher for us this year, so that we can make sure that the class sizes are palatable and small enough with 5-year-olds running around with a mask. And then Mrs. Diedrichs, who was a kindergarten teacher last year, is moving with her grade level to move up to first grade. And our two wonderful pre-K aides, Mrs. Carrie DeRosso and Miss Kathy Joy, are both going to move up to be with kindergarten and work with them. So we're looking forward to a really great year.
So can you guys hear me? Okay. So over at Monroe Center, in case you guys can't see me, I'm Dina. So over at Monroe Center, we've got several new people, which we're super excited to have with us. So we've got in 4th grade, Mandy Poliska. She's covering a leave of absence currently. So that's wonderful for her to be with us. And she's been in the district for quite a while, so we are super stoked to get her. And we have also in 4th grade, Michelle Lassard. So she'll be joining 4th grade as well. And again, another person that's been in the district, so it's nice to keep family in the family, so that's cool. And we have in 5th grade, we have Danielle Bond, who is joining us, who actually we're really fortunate. She has some cardinal colors already going on because she was at ISU, so she has some Redbird stuff, so she'll just go blend right in. That'll be awesome. And then in 3rd grade, we have Yvonne Anaya, which is awesome because she has been in Oregon and she has been all over the place and is phenomenal because she had some experience last year with her own kids in the remote learning. So she's going to be joining us as well. And I feel like I'm missing somebody. Joe, help me out. Darcy's last name, our speech and language pathologist. Did I miss her?
Yeah, I just looked at my Post-it note and saw it down there too. So Darcy Omnitek is going to be our new speech language pathologist. So we will not have to use Tiny Eye, which was that virtual SLP service. So we'll have a real live wonderful human. And Darcy's coming with 20+ years of experience. And is going to do a really great job with Emily doing.
Yeah, so she'll be joining Emily Peterson, our other SLP. So I think for our Monroe Center, and I'm hoping and praying I didn't forget anybody, but I think that's where we're at.
I will jump in for Jill, kind of going in chronological order. Jill is in Google training right now. We have one new staff member and one transferring staff member into the junior high. Kristen Ficosi is entering year 4 in the district, but will be year 1 at the junior high as she takes over the art program. And Carter Duffer will be the choir and band teacher as we have added a position in the arts that way. So he is a Meridian high school graduate, not the right Meridian, but a Meridian high school graduate, and went to SIUE. And so he is excited to kind of join our band and choir team. Those are our 2 new hires at the junior high. Any other leadership team members want to jump in? While I'm talking, I'll say that Kenny is out doing work. I've given him permission to continue trying to get the buildings prepared for the start of the school year instead of being on this meeting. And he wanted me to share that he doesn't have anyone new to share, and definitely would like new people to share. So if you have anyone that might be interested in a job in the custodial realm, we would definitely be interested in talking to them.
Hey, PJ, I apologize for butting in, but I'm going to add 2 other people because we have Aslan Neal that's going to join us as a full-time sub, and I forgot about Aslan. So Aslan, I am sorry. And she's not new to the building. She's just transferring since we're not doing Tiny Eye this year. We have Kristen Kerner is going to be one of our paraprofessionals as well. She was with us last year, but she's just she's shifting to another position. So sorry about that, guys, if I forgot you earlier.
Okay, this is Leslie Showers. I'm sorry, I'm in the Google Classroom training as well right now. But I'm excited to share that this is my first year in administration that I have not hired new faculty, staff, or in terms of having to replace someone else who's left. So that's amazing. And I'm just really pleased to have all of our faculty and staff from last year returning. So that's really been a blessing. But I am really pleased to share that we have added 2 full-time subs at the high school. which is something we haven't had before. The first is Julie Weber, who many of you know, and she's subbed a lot for us. She was a math intern for us here at the high school for years. She's a Colorado State University grad. She has her background is in math and in performing arts, and specifically in dance. So she has done choreography for us at the high school for the musicals in the past. She's worked with the Rockford Dance Company. I mean, she's just amazing, and just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to multiple disciplines. So we're really excited to have her full-time at the high school this year. And she just knows the students and the staff really well. So she's going to be an amazing addition. And then also excited to welcome back Miss Kenzie Flynn, who is a 2016 Stillman Valley grad, 36 ACT National Merit finalist. She just graduated from UT Dallas with and I know, Kenzie, I'm going to mess this up again, but she's graduated with a performing arts degrees, a background in theater specifically, and she's actually supposed to be working on Broadway, but since Broadway is currently shut down until probably at least spring, she's ours for the year, and we're really excited to have her back. Again, just a strength of curriculum, and obviously that's across the board. Knows our staff well, and again, just a positive person, great person. So we're very excited to have Julie and Kenzie at the high school. And that's it for the high school.
Great. Any directors want to jump on? I know that we don't have a ton of new hires, again, even though we would accept new hires in most every department.
Well, transportation's crazy as always. And I can say that we have absolutely no new hires here. We've got a few people that have left. We're struggling, but we're going to make it. Ricky, you got anything? That's it from us. No rap, no skit, no nothing, PJ.
I thought I encouraged a skit.
You did. We've been too busy.
We've been busy getting those routes right.
Anyone else want to jump in?
Hi, this is Kayla, for those of you who can't see me. In health services, we have 2 new health aides joining us. We have Carly Koenig and Cameron Lauer, who are both graduates of our district. So it's really awesome to welcome them back into our schools, and we're very happy to have them.
Okay, without any more introductions, I'll get into my remarks, and then I will let you guys get on your way. So each year when I write whatever I'm going to say to you guys and then put together the accompanying PowerPoint presentation, takes me like 5 minutes to put together, simply because all summer I think about what I'm going to say. And all summer I understand that I typically get 1 opportunity throughout the course of the year, sometimes 2, to speak to the entire faculty and staff. And the messaging is just very clear to me. And this year was different. This year I struggled with it. And so I wrote down what I thought I wanted to say. And on Saturday, I was working on it at the house. And my wife, Jackie, walked by and said, "What are you working on?" I said, my back to school remarks. And she asked, "So how's it going?" I'm like, "I'm struggling." And she's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because everything kind of feels disingenuous. And if I want to motivate and inspire, it feels like I'm just going to be relying on false platitudes when I understand the stress of the situation." And she said, "Well, just be real with them. Just tell them what you want." She's like, and my wife's a teacher, right? So she's been through numerous amounts of these types of talks. And so just talk to them the way you talk to me when you get home and what you're sharing, and go through that. And so I said, "Yeah, I don't know." And I'm like, "That's gonna be hard to put together on a PowerPoint." She's like, "Don't do a PowerPoint." She's like, "No one wants to sit through a PowerPoint on Zoom. Let people see your face and just talk to them." And so that's what I intend to do. I just intend to share with you a Cliff's Notes version of how we got to where we are today, and then some words of hopefully wisdom as you guys consider what the next several weeks of your life are going to be like. And I'll share with you where the head of where my head is at, and where I believe the board's head is at, and the leadership team in terms of what will be next for us, and what we can assure to you, and what we can promise to you in some ways. So I want to start off by just thanking everyone. There's not a person that I know of that has worked any harder any other summer to get ready for school. So it doesn't mean that you don't work hard on a typical summer, but from what I saw, from the feedback I received, everyone gave a tremendous amount. And that extends from every department to our teachers, to our leadership team. And so I know that everyone feels underprepared right now, but I don't know that you could have done a better job to get yourself prepared than you are right now. So I think that's very important for everyone to realize, is that while whatever stress you're feeling, and we'll get to that in a second, about being underprepared, know that you are more prepared than any other district, any other school, and I'm talking to where we're at in terms of training, than most of our peers. And so I think that you should be very comfortable in the work that you've put in, even if you know that you're not prepared to the level that you are in a typical traditional school year. I also want to give one particular shout out, and I really hesitate to do this because I don't like isolating any individual, but when people truly go above and beyond, I think it's appropriate to recognize excellence as well. But Kayla McKinney is not contracted to work through the summer and has worked every day during the summer. And she also is not assertive by nature. So when she's sending you out emails telling you how to wear your mask, dang it, that's hard for her. And it's on behalf of our kids and our staff that she's trying to keep us well. So I think it's like, I just want to make sure that everyone knows how hard she has worked, how above and beyond she has gone, and know that when we get, our version of kick butt Kayla, that is not her normal disposition. So if you're in another building and have never met or talked with Kayla, that's not like, that is a big stretch. And so I'm proud of her, and I'm thankful for the effort that she's done. So I want to make sure that everyone realized how tremendous she's been for us this summer. So the process has been largely what a lot of you guys have been a part of. So in May, we surveyed our parents to say what went well and what didn't go well in terms of remote learning. And what really, and Dina has kind of pushed this term on me, and it's won me over, what really was basically crisis learning more than remote learning. But what did that look like and how did we do? And the feedback that we received from our parents was very, very similar to the feedback we received from teachers. So that was very heartening to me, meaning that we were our own worst critic. And in May, I think that we all knew that there was a chance that we would have remote learning again. I don't think it was as abundantly apparent as it is now. And we started charting down that course. And basically at that point we were saying, what would a hybrid look like? What would in-person look like? What would remote look like? Because we didn't know what that would actually be when the guidance came down from the state. Once the guidance came down from the state, I think it was June 27th, it was the last week of June, it's been kind of chaos in this office, trying to figure out how to put together a plan that accommodates serves multiple interests at the same time. And so if you've sat in on a board meeting or read the documents, you've heard me say this, so I apologize for being redundant, but if you haven't, I think it's important. When we tried to figure out how to create a plan and try to thread that needle I mentioned before, we did so with 4 things in mind. The first was the wellness and health of our students and our staff. The second was the social emotional support for our students. The third was our kids' academic progress. And the fourth was understanding our role as a key contributor and a function of our community and our society. Now, these are not different priorities than typically exist when we're charting out our path for any school year. The difference was that they were in competition with each other for the first time in my experience. Meaning, what is best for the health and wellness of our students and our staff is not what is best for the social emotional wellness of our students or the academic progress of our students or our role as a leader in our community. And so in order to make that work has been painful work, just because we're serving multiple entities at once, and it makes it really difficult trying to find a medium. Where we ended up is a hybrid model. And I said this in the board meeting, and I said it publicly, like, I think we ended up with like a C+ plan. And as teachers, I know you can relate to that, right? Like, so we ended up with an average plan. And I think anyone that ends up with a hybrid is there. Simply because what real success would look like in this, most likely, I'd say there's an overwhelming sense that we're either going to end up with kids back in the building, or we're going to end up full remote. The chances of us staying hybrid and threading this needle is really, really small. Is there a chance? Absolutely. But what will happen is we will have our own local data to combine with whatever's local or regional, state, national data is to say whether this is working. And if it's working, then what we'll undoubtedly try to do is get more kids in the building. And if it's not working, then we'll get less kids in the building and we'll make that shift. But right now what we have is a plan that's imperfect. And I am very, very proud of the process we've used. And I think we've come up with a competent plan, but it is not perfect. The reason I share that so bluntly with you is that I need everyone to believe, I'm asking for you to believe that there's not ego invested in the plan. And if there's not ego invested in the plan, that means we will change the plan. And so when we get data that pushes us in one direction or the other, we are going to be flexible. The same way that I've called on the community and I've called on you to be flexible as the leader of the district and as the leader of the district, meaning the board, I've called on them to be flexible as well. And so if I hope that you believe that that plan has been constructed without ego, meaning that we will be very willing to change and we're not going to have a bias in terms of this is our pre-existing plan, we're going to stick with it as long as possible. What we're going to do is what's best for our kids and our community as soon as possible. The promise to you is flexibility. And so when anything happens, all I can assure you is that there's going to be flexibility and there's going to be support. Do I think that we've thought of every permutation of every situation that could happen in remote learning, in hybrid learning, and face-to-face learning the way it's constructed in 2020? No, I don't think so. Do I think that we've thought of more than the vast majority of other districts? Absolutely. I think we've put ourselves in as good of position to succeed as anyone that I know of. Does that mean that we're not going to have roadblocks? No, it certainly means we're going to have roadblocks. It's the second day. We had a roadblock yesterday, and now we have a roadblock today, right? Like, so we are going to have roadblocks, and you are going to fail. And we're going to be there to pick you up. We're not going to be there to judge you. We're not going to be there. This is going to be messy and clunky. And all I can do is try to assure you that we are going to get through this together, and that however you're feeling in terms of being underprepared, I could not disagree with you more, because the things that are going to make you successful this year is caring about kids, challenging them, supporting them, and picking them back up. And you guys are more than prepared to do that. Regardless of the platform we use, regardless of how great you are at Google or not great you are at Google, it doesn't matter. If you care about kids and you want to push them and you're going to support them, we're going to be successful. And so wherever you're at and feeling underprepared, I need you to take a big exhale, unclench your jaw, roll your shoulders back, because I promise you that you are going to be okay, and we're going to serve kids okay. And it might not be up to your standard, but I need you to know that it's up to our standard. So I'm not trying to systematically lower the expectations. I want us to go really hard at this. I want us to be as good at this as we possibly can be. But know that when we love kids and when we push them academically and we want to challenge them and we're there to support them, that ultimately we're going to get good results regardless of the platform that we use. And so I just want us to take that deep breath and know that you are enough. Right now, as unprepared as you feel, you are enough. Right now, as unprepared as you feel, I would be honored to have my kids in your classroom across the board. So I want us to be there mentally. The second thing that I want to share is that when I sent that link out on Sunday to share with me how you were feeling, I was not surprised. In no way did any of the responses surprise me, but reading them in the entirety was heavy. And I don't know how else to explain it. And then I talked with probably about 40 teachers yesterday. I didn't get to every building. And the general sense, and this is my word, and I put out a little video about it yesterday, but the general sense is that everyone's overwhelmed right now. And that goes, we have people that think we're being way too cautious on this Zoom call right now. And we have people thinking that we're not being anywhere near cautious enough. And regardless of where that ideology comes from or why they believe that, what was pretty consistent is they still felt overwhelmed by it. And so for me, I've talked about the sensation of being overwhelmed quite a bit with the leadership team and when I go out and work with other people. So I want to share with you what my definition of overwhelm is. And I think that if I paint the picture clear enough for you, you'll see why I hope that everyone can take an exhale. So when I think about being overwhelmed, the simplest way I can describe it is that it's when we don't have the skills or the capacity to meet the stressors in front of us at that moment. So when we're overwhelmed, it's like, I don't have the talent, I don't have the skills, I've not worked through this, I haven't practiced this, be successful in where I'm at right now. And so there is absolutely nothing wrong with feeling overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed on a weekly basis. The problem is if we stay overwhelmed. And so that's what my hope is through this 5 minutes that I'm going to talk to you guys, is that you don't, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, that you work yourself to not stay there. And so there's 3 ways that we don't stay overwhelmed. Number 1 is that we develop the skills and the capacity, right? Like, so we just do it enough that we're good at it. Now, I don't know about you, but this is my first pandemic, right? Like, so I don't have a ton of skills and capacity in leading through a pandemic. It's hard. I don't have a ton of skills and capacity in teaching through a pandemic. Like, so wherever you're feeling that skill and capacity, you're going to develop it over time, and you're going to feel a lot different about it in October than you do right now. But if you don't have those skills, like, that's normal. So if you can't just work hard to develop the skills and capacity, your second option is this, is avoid the stimulus that's making you feel overwhelmed. So if I'm getting overwhelmed every time I get in a fight with the board, then one of the things I could do is quit fighting with the board. Now, you don't have the power to end this pandemic, right? So option 1 is over time. We can't get to that solution real quick. Option 2, you can't fix the situation you're in. But option 3 is where the magic happens. Option 3 is simply understanding that you probably have moved your own goalposts. What that means is that whatever you've determined success to be is most likely what's overwhelming you. So if you're a 15-year veteran teacher who feels pretty good about their skills and feels pretty good about how they're able to serve kids, what is typically happening for the one that is overwhelmed that I'm working with and talking to right now is that they are fearful that the product that they're going to produce on next Tuesday isn't going to be what it would have been if we had traditional, typical schooling. And so the only person who has established that goalpost for you is you. And so when I'm asking you not to be overwhelmed, I'm asking you to shift your goalpost. Your goalpost should be, do my kids know that I care about them and love them? Am I doing everything I can to academically challenge and support them? If yes, then we're good. And you are fundamentally going to do that. I know that's who you are. I've been in this district 8 years now. I know who we are as teachers. And so if you move your own goalposts and say, like, look, I know that I'm not going to be as good as 15-year veteran teacher me, but I'm going to care a ton. And I'm going to work hard and I'm going to serve kids. And that's going to be enough. And for sure, it's going to be enough at the beginning of this process. That's all we need. And so whatever level of stress you're feeling in terms of producing, I'm asking you to please think deeply about that and to move your own goalpost back a little bit. Now, for those that are feeling stress because you're concerned or frightened for your health and wellness, this has been the hardest part of this entire process for me, is because the solution that we picked, quite frankly, doesn't value that over all else, right? Like, if we were only concerned with staff health and wellness, we'd be in a full remote plan. And so I know that we've created this hybrid plan, which sends essentially mixed messages, right? Like that academics are important and social emotional help for our kids are important, and the health and wellness of our staff is important, but they're all kind of equally compartmentalized. And that's been incredibly difficult for me. And I don't necessarily feel that way, but I think operationally as a district, it's just been a very weird process to walk through. If you are scared or frightened or concerned for your own health and wellness, or the health and wellness of those that live in your household or those that you love, this is where I struggled with trying to find platitudes and to uplift and to motivate. Because all I can do is empathize and acknowledge that I too am frightened. I too have a sense of fear. And for those of you that don't feel this, like, amen. I'm not encouraging you to feel that way. Like, I wish I was with you. But for those of you that are, all I can tell you is that we care about you and we love you, and we're going to do what we can to get through this together. And if it becomes very clear that we are asking you to go into a situation that's untenable, that we will adjust. Is this situation going to be absolutely perfectly safe? Can I guarantee safety of everyone? I can't. And that's difficult to say. And I feel in a way that I've let some of you guys down by not being able to say it that way. But I also feel deeply compelled that we provide, for lack of a better term, an essential service, and that our kids need us. And that if we can do what we can do to get kids in the building a little bit, I think we're going to do better on behalf of our kids. And I know that from my just core set of why education is so important and why I chose to go into this field. And I also know that just from my own experience of being a dad of twin 6-year-olds, a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old, who are incredibly thankful to be going back to school, that I feel like we owe the community and those kids an opportunity to see if this works. But I assure you that if it doesn't work, we will adjust on the fly. So as I leave you, I'm going to leave you with the 3 thoughts that I hope that I have, and that in an ideal, perfect world, you guys would adopt. Number 1 is that the last 5 to 6 months of my life has filled me with immense gratitude. I have realized a lot of the privileges that I have, professionally, personally, as a family. Like I found out that like my wife and I really, really like each other still. And I wasn't home enough to really even know that before. Like we were coexisting as like we were co-parenting and like we're a family, but like I really like my wife, and I think she really likes me. Like it's been like, so it's like I'm filled with gratitude that this has been a forced reset on life for me, to understand what I value and appreciate. And hopefully I live my life a little better once things get back to normal as a result of that. I'm filled with hope, because I think that what we can do, I'm just hopeful as to the service that we can provide to our community. I am hopeful that we will make the right decisions. And I'm filled with hope that as a country, we will get through this really murky, difficult, troubled time, and we will emerge on the other side stronger. And the last thing is I'm filled with belief that I don't know that any district is going to get through this well. But I mean this sincerely. I don't know that I don't think I want to go through it with anyone else. And I mean that from the board, the leadership team, to the teachers on staff. If any district can pull this off, I believe that we can. And that's not at all to do with me. That has everything to do with you guys. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. I thank you for being a partner in this. And I hope that we are able to serve our kids in our community as well as possible. And I hope that you guys feel supported as we go through this. I want to give one procedural information, and then we will go ahead and close the meeting. You guys will receive an email invite for essentially a town hall for later in the week. I'll find a time where there's no trainings. That can just be a Q&A for me. So anyone that has any questions, that wants to know why, how, what's next, I will be free for any questions that you guys have, and we can go through that. But in saying that, I want to be very clear to encourage this. And I was going to say it yesterday during the convocation, which didn't happen. And then after talking to the principals yesterday in our nightly debrief, I want to make sure I say this. As many scenarios as you want to run through in your head to try to get the answer to, there's 40 more you didn't think of, that I haven't thought of, that nobody has thought of in this district, that's going to come to bear. So the only way that I have been able to survive from late July to now, because from late June to late July, I was angry all the time, was to figure out what I can control and let go of what I couldn't. And when you are, well, what's going to happen when this happens? Anytime that you have any doubt about what should happen, you just need to call your nurse and your administrator, and we're going to call the health department. They're going to tell us what to do. In many ways, our decision-making capacity is very low on this. So when in doubt, we're going to err on the side of caution, which means that there's going to be things that frustrate you, because a kid has a cough and you're going to send him home, and then the health department releases him 8 hours later, and you're going to be, why the heck would the health department do that? And I'm not going to be able to answer that for you, and you're not going to be able to answer that either. And at some point, we need to trust the professionals that have been placed in charge of making those difficult decisions for us, and move forward, or we're going to perseverate on every little issue, and this is going to be an incredibly, extraordinarily frustrating year. And trust me, I was there not long ago. And the way that I've been able to proceed and to truly have gratitude and hope and belief is to realize that I can control what I can control, and to move forward with that. And that has helped me lose that sense of being overwhelmed, because I moved the goalposts on myself, because I couldn't come up with every solution in a plan for every possible permutation. For me, that's been really uplifting, and it's allowed me to calm down quite a bit. So I know this has been 45 minutes of your time. I thank you for listening to myself and Mr. Smith and allowing the leadership team to introduce our new team members. For those that are not able to join us live, the YouTube link will be in your inbox, and hopefully you guys can check that out. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Let's make it a great year.